Yo, 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 it's your boy Sternway here, and I am putting my new chain on. And, a lot of people use different things. I don't have an air compressor, so I use a lot of manual tubes. And to take the old chain off, we will be using bolt cutters. These right here will be what we take this chain off with. I had already broken one link before I decided to actually videotape this. So I'm actually about to cut the second link off. And just like that. That's how it works. And now I really actually need my rubber gloves. So 1 second, let me get rubber gloves. Now, while we're actually doing the chain installation, we'll also be putting our new Vortex 520 sprocket and Vortex front sprocket. I chose to go with, I didn't do aluminum because I just, I don't think you get enough miles out of it. A lot of people do it for weight. I mean, to me, street riding and the racing that we do is not sufficient enough for me to sacrifice the durability for a couple of ounces of weight. But I chose to go with the steel rear sprocket, and we went with the gold 3D chain. Now, my good buddy 650E, don't forget, use his discount, but those guys over at Moto Millions hooked me up with all this stuff for a great price. And don't forget to use the 650E promo code when you call. I had spoken with Manny, and he told me that he had everything I needed, and it actually shipped out before the shipping date was seen. So as soon as I ordered it, it was paid for the same day. I mean, he got right on it. The shipment went out I want to say the shipment went out the same day or the next day, and it arrived before time. So we're going to take this old chain off. We're going to back this out of here, and it's as simple as that. A lot of people ask me, said, "You're taking a brand new chain off of a brand new bike and putting a new chain on?" Yeah. It was something about this new chain, but I don't know what it was, but it rusted the first day, right after the first day I brought it home. And that kind of aggravated me, but also it's a bigger chain, and I didn't like it. I wanted the new 520 kit. I wanted the 3D chain because the 520 3D chain looks awesome. Let me show you this thing. I know you a lot of you have probably seen these already, but let me show you this thing here. This is the Master Link kit, but I love these gold 3D chains. They're beautiful. Now, they come greased up, so it's not going to be as shiny. And they come greased up, but look at that thing. That thing is beautiful. I love this thing. It's beautiful. And it is a 520 chain. So we're going to install the full 520 kit. Okay, now that we have the chain off, we're going to start taking the front sprocket cover off. I'm hoping I can get around not taking off the shifter. I really don't want to disturb it, so I'm hoping once I get these screws out, I can can slide it out through here, slide it out and tilt it and lift it out. And that's what I'm hoping. So, but I don't know if it's going to go that well, removing the actual sprocket. So I'm assuming I'm going to still have to take off the shifter, which won't be a problem. But we're going to get a look here after we get these bolts out. Two. And we got one more after this one comes out. This cover should come right out. All right, let's see if my theory goes as planned. No, it doesn't. So we're going to have to just take off the shifter, and that's not a problem. We're going to take it off from the top because that's, that one slides out, and that's where the shifter actually is. So we're going to look for a 10mm wrench. Stand by. Okay, now we're back with the 10mm wrench. We're going to get this nut off here, off the shifter. Now, once you get this bolt out, you want to remember where your shifter position was. So you're going to take a marker, preferable, like a white wax marker or some type of like paint marker to mark off the spot where your shifter was. All right. Now, I used a Sharpie to mark my shifter position because I used a black I used a black Sharpie because I didn't want to have to worry about rubbing the paint off, which from the paint stick, it's not that hard, but I just didn't feel like being bothered with it. Plus, this was the first thing handy. So I made a black mark on the shifter and lined it up with the shifter spacer. Now that I got the nut out, the shifter should somewhat come right off, and it's going to need to be spread open a little because it is on there pretty tight. So let's grab our little flathead screwdriver, get up in between there, twist just a little bit, open it up, and it slides right off. But we have a different problem. Now, the BMW has other stuff in the way for that. So let's come back. All right, now that we got the cover and the sprocket guard off, we have to get that bolt off. Now, this bolt is new to me, and I know I have the right and correct one. I just have to find it. And all right, and we're back. I shoved a towel up here so I wouldn't have the wrench accidentally bump the frame or anything like that. So I got the sprocket bolt off. I actually put the chain back on to take it off, and I'm actually going to back that chain back out because I'm not going to need it anymore now. And make sure when you take stuff off like this that you don't lose any washers or get any dirt and grime in those gears and those sprockets. So I put a towel down here to lay all my parts on. I didn't want any sand or grit up in the sprocket area. So now we have that done, I'm going to take off this dirty glove. And we are looking for the new sprocket. Now, the sprockets do come with the different side to side. So when you put it on, make sure when you take it off and put it on, make sure you notice which way you took it off and put it on. This one went on that way, so it should be flush right there when you put it on. See how flush it is? Because when you put this spacer back on, it's going to be flush, and it's going to fit in the final groove where that was, and it's going to make the bolt sit flush, and so the sprocket doesn't have any wear in there. So this one, the vortex actually fits perfect. The spacing is still perfect. And let's see something. I'm curious to know if the stock sprocket was 17. Yeah, 17. So it was 17.45, and I replaced it with the stock sprocket gearing. I didn't change because I didn't want to lose anything by changing the gearing, because I'm very happy where the gearing is right now, the way it feels, mid-range and top end. So I didn't change anything as far as the gearing. I left it. I ordered the stock gearing. And now we have that sprocket, we have the front sprocket on. We're going to put this bolt back on. And you have to make sure that spacer stays in place when you're tightening this bolt. If it doesn't, you're going to have problems. So you're going to have to hold it while you put it on there. And twist it to make sure it's still in the groove. Yes, it is. And we will make sure it's all the way tight once we get the new chain on, and make sure it's all the way in there tight. You don't want to over tighten it, because you can create a little too much friction in it, but you don't want to over tighten it, and risk smashing the spacer, flaring the ends and stuff like that. So now, next step, we will take off the rear sprocket. I'm gonna get this rear nut off for the rear axle. And same situation here. I actually do it with all my bolts. I try not to let them hit the ground or lay directly on the ground where there's dirt and sand, stuff like that. So, like I said, I put everything on the towel, and because these things are greased, and you don't want. All right. We had a little malfunction earlier with the camera stand. So, as I was saying, when you take these parts off, you don't want to let sand or any type of grit get down in them. Make sure you sit them on a towel or something clean. Now we have to slide this out of the other side. And I didn't give myself too much space earlier. I didn't think about it. And you also have to be careful of the brake caliper on the other side. So like I said, these things are greased. I'm sure most of you already know that, but you don't want to sit them down on anything that's dirty. So I'm gonna actually take this one and sit it up top on the stand up top. And we will, what I'm going to do is roll the bike up a little so I can have some room. And we're gonna just roll this up a little so I can have some room to work with. And we're gonna slide the wheel out. I'm gonna sit it right there. Make sure the spacers don't fall out. These things have spacers on the end. Make sure the spacers don't fall out. Didn't I just say it? But that's fine because I need to take the sprocket bolts out. So I'm actually going to do it a little easier than I want to. So I'm going to lay this towel on the ground and lay the wheel. I'm going to take my spacer out because I don't want to. No, actually I'm going to leave it in because I can wipe the outside off. I don't want any dust in the bearing. So I'm going to lay this down here and we are going to take the sprocket bolts out. We're going to take these sprocket bolts out. Stay tuned. All right, while we change camera positions, we're going to take these out of here. Take these out of here. And these aren't easy to break. So, okay, now that we got all those bolts broken, we're gonna take them off the rest of the way by hand. And taking this off, I just noticed that I didn't order my blue bolts. So I'm going to have to take this rear wheel back off when I get ready to do my rear bolts. And that, my friends, I'm aggravated about. So I hate having to do things twice. So, but it's okay. I do love tinkering with my own bike. I love tinkering with my own bike. So now you got the new sprocket here, and it's crazy because the pattern on the vortex looks almost just like the stock one, but they're both black. And I'm gonna slide that on there, and just to make sure that we stay safe and secure, because I am going to order the safety wire, the pre-drilled safety wire bolts, so I can safety wire them for the track, so we will pass on every track tech no matter where I go. I'm also going to put some thread lock on here, just because I like to make sure my bolts don't come off. And you don't have to put a lot on there. You'll see when I turn the camera back on. I mean, when I put this back on there, that is not a lot. You just need enough in the threads to lock the threads in. And then we're gonna sit this back in. Sit that back in there, and see if you see the little blue, you'll see the thread lock is on there. And we're actually going to put the same bolts on, the same nuts on the same bolts that we took them off on. I'm kind of anal about that sometimes. Threads are different sometimes, not all the time. But, you know, it's just like the ballistics on each screw is different. When a bolt is or a nut is threaded for the first time, and then, you know, just my opinion. It may not be true, but I just like to put the same bolts on, same bolts and nuts together that were together from the beginning. Now we want to wipe this little bit of screw lock that I got on there, and we want to tighten the rest of those. Yeah, I'm really upset that I forgot to order the blue nuts for the sprocket. It would have looked much nicer. And I'm actually going to get on that as soon as I'm done with this, and get to ordering those bad babies. And we're going to torque these on just a little bit once I get the wheel and chain on. It'll be much easier to spin the wheel upright and tighten them that way. I just wanted to make sure I got them on, and we're gonna get ready to put this bad baby back on the bike, and we're gonna change camera positions again. Stand by. All right, now get that all back on. We're gonna stand the wheel back up. Make sure all your spacers are still in place. Make sure there's always no grind, no grit inside the axle chamber, because you don't want any of that in there, because it will cause extra wear down the line, and you'll be buying new parts that you really don't want to buy. So we're going to slide this back in here. Line this back up with the brake calipers. Squared away. You gotta line it up. You gotta make sure everything is lined up perfectly. All right, that's good. Now, it's easier to do this in a better position when the bike is in a better position, but I chose to do it the hard way and, and not pull the bike out my space where I actually store it at. So I'm working with limited room, and just want to make sure I'm careful, you know. So get that up in there, and hold on. Once we get that up in there, we'll start the axle through where the brake is, and we're going to get my foot up on here to help hold it and line it up. So, once you get it all lined up, you should go back through nice and easy. You get that over there, and you check and make sure you got everything lined up correctly. All right. All of that is dandy. So, get this line back up. So lined up and everything. There we go. And then we come back over here. And we put the other axle spacer on. The nut spacer, and hand screw the nut on. I'm not going to tighten it because I don't know if I'm going to need less or more space for the new chain. I have everything marked and documented for where the stock chain was, where the stock chain was positioned and the spacer. So I'm just going to get it on there hand tight enough to get everything lined up. So now I'm going to put another pair of gloves on. I'll take the stock, sit it over there. And I'm putting these gloves on because there is clean grease on the new chain. Clean grease. So I'm going to take this new chain and we're going to push this wheel all the way up. And we're going to make sure that we don't get this chain on the ground, because like I said, you do not want all that grime in your chain. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? So I'm going to take this and get this threaded through here. Get that through there. Land it up on top of there. And you don't want to get it on the tire or any grease from the chain on the tire or anything. So just take your time. And anything you do get grease on, you can wipe it down later. So we're going to roll this around. Roll this around. And we can line this up right there. All right, now roll this. I rolled it all the way around, didn't I? So keep that coming. Feed it through. Feed it through, feed it through. And we're good here. Now, we don't have the chain laying on the ground. And the length looks like it's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect. It's perfect from the last chain. From the factory chain. And like I said, I went stock gearing, so that's why it's perfect. So now that we have that on, we're going to open up the MasterLink packet. Now this MasterLink packet, you also have to be very careful with it also, because you really don't want to drop these on the ground and get them dirty, because it comes with the little rubber spacers, washers, and they go in between the links, and they hold the grease in that when you do your daily or weekly, however you treat your chains, it holds the grease in where when you normally spray it, clean it, then spray it, or wipe it down, spray it, which are lube that you use on a regular to maintenance it, it will hold that grease in there away from the water, and so you'll have a good lube chain all the time, because there's